All right, we're here this morning to help you know your rights. Thankfully, with our friend Katherine Stone from Injury Florida Law Firm once again this morning, talking about workers' compensation. I was telling you before we got started, we've, been having conversations with you for years, and yet we continue to learn something new. And when it comes to workers' compensation and medical visits and speaking with your doctor, you want people to really know their rights as far as who can come into the room with you. Again,
Right.
I had no idea that this was even allowed.
Yeah, well, under Chapter 440 of the Florida statute that addresses workers' compensation, there is actually an allowance for the insurance companies to provide nurse case management for their files. So, the adjuster's handling the compensability aspect, the paperwork aspect of it, your checks. And so oftentimes the adjusters are not nurses, and maybe the claim needs to have a nurse address some of the issues in the case. So these insurance companies will either have in-house nurses and be field agents who actually go out to the doctor's offices, or they're just sit there and arrange for the appointments to take place. What oftentimes I find my clients do not know is that you can forbid a nurse case manager from attending your actual appointment with you. Oftentimes, these nurse case managers, and oftentimes are very helpful on files, but in my opinion, they may go overboard and they want to come into the exam room with you and attend the appointment with you. Oftentimes clients will say, well, I didn't know I could tell them not to come in there with me. They're from the insurance company. I didn't want to get in trouble. Well, you have every right to tell them that they cannot come into the appointment with you. Now, they are allowed to speak to your doctors either before your appointment or after your appointment without you present. That's something a lot of clients don't know either. And so knowing what the rules are and knowing what the nurse case managers are and are not allowed to do is something that we tell all of our clients about. I actually have a standard letter to nurse case managers that I get appearances on file telling them, they're not allowed to communicate directly with my clients, which oftentimes they want to do directly. Well, unfortunately, they do that, and then you don't know what's going on sometimes. If they, they issue reports a lot of times or hold conferences with doctors. And so, we need to know what their reports say. Now, if they're an in-house nurse case manager, you may have more difficulty getting a copy of that report. It could be considered work product. If they are a separate company that has been subcontracted by the insurance company, there's no question we're entitled to those reports.
So is this something you should ask about before you even go to the doctor's office that day? Or?
No, the doctors sometimes don't even know if the nurses are showing up. What oftentimes will happen is you'll get a phone call from someone introducing themselves as a nurse on your file. They're going to be assisting with your medical appointments. They're going to be, and sometimes they'll tell you, I'm going to be at your doctor's appointment. That gives pause, in my opinion, with someone reaching out to you like that. Again, our clients are not allowed to speak directly with the nurse case manager. All communications must go through our office. And so I'm not saying that you can't speak to them, but also know that they're hired by the insurance company. And, although they are a nurse and they are working on your behalf as well, there's certain rules that I feel like they need to comply with.
So bottom line, what you want to make sure when people know their rights is that you do have that right to say, I'm not comfortable with you being in the actual exam room with me.
Correct. And honestly, I wouldn't discuss anything with them either. You're under no obligation to answer their question, the nurse's question, or I'm talking about the nurse case manager.
Right.
You're under no obligation to cooperate with them other than saying, yes, I will be at this appointment date and time. I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's the only obligation you have with them. And never sign a medical authorization form for them.
Okay. Good to know. Again, this is why we are so happy that you are part of our show, where we discuss this and a lot of other topics. We've been showing your phone number, and I know you welcome people if they have questions. Of course, no case is the same, and I know there's a lot of different moving parts. But if you do have questions, there is the number, certainly the website as well, maybe to get some of those first questions answered as well. As always, so good to see you. Thank you so much, Katherine.